Well, good day, everyone. Welcome back to Foxridge Philately. It is episode 25, and the date is Sunday, April the 27th. A bit overcast this morning, and I went out for a walk with Lucy the dog for about an hour, and some heavy mist coming down, but that was okay because it's quite mild out actually. And since it is a little wet outside, I thought perhaps it's time to work on some stamps. It's been a little while since I've done anything with stamps. I tend to go in fits and starts, whether it's doing some organizing or figuring out an episode or even posting something on Instagram or Facebook. But today is to be back at it a little bit, so I thought I would do up an episode for you. And one of you from the previous episode that I posted, Chris from Chris Loves Stamps, had jokingly said that I was teasing him a little bit when I had showed some glassines here, some South America stamps, but didn't delve into them at all. So I thought perhaps I would go through a few of those and show you a few other things that I've picked up recently through some kindness of some philatelic friends, or even one's kind of a pseudo relative through through marriage, I guess you could say, from my wife. So what we have here, first off, are, as you can see, some small mini sheets, souvenir sheets from Jersey. And these, along with the glassines that I'll show you, came from a friend of mine who I quite enjoy, and I enjoy chatting with him and talking about stamps or just life in general for a visit once in a while, Bill. And he often puts some things aside for me. And at the last stamp show a couple of weeks ago, where he had a table set up, he said, "Oh, here, I got a little envelope for you." So he had this envelope of some goodies in here for me, including these from Jersey. And I haven't done anything, I think I've said this before, I haven't done anything with Jersey or Guernsey yet, although I could see it being of interest to me. As you know, if you've been watching my channel at all, I do collect Isle of Man, and I've been picking away at Isle of Man for never hinged. And that gets to be quite expensive after a while, so it's a slow process as I go to a stamp show, and there's a particular dealer that I like and knows me well and what I'm looking for that always has some things set aside for me. But Bill had given me these Jersey sheets here, which are really quite nice. And I do tend to like a lot of folks, I do tend to like older stamps that are engraved, but there are some really nice issues that are more recent, that are photogravure or lithograph, that are well designed. And some postal agencies I find do a better job of that than other, Isle of Man being one. But Jersey also does quite a nice job. Like, look at that, eh? And I will say Faroe Islands is another one that I enjoy. And I was collecting them for a while, but I had to kind of put those on pause as I was concentrating on some other things. So these are the glassines that Bill had given to me as well. Just kind of spread out here. All of South American, might be a little bit of Central America thrown in here. And I haven't looked at them at all yet. And I do intend someday to do something with some South America. And I've never traveled to South America, and I'd love to do that at some point. And some of the history really does quite interest me. So these are just some random Brazilian stamps, as you can see. I'll try to hold those up a little bit for you. Focus those in. It's hard to get it to focus. There you go. We'll set those aside. And here's some Argentina. Quite a bit of Argentina built up. Excuse me for a moment. I just have my camera here, which is my phone, on a tripod. So just taking these Argentinian stamps out loosely. And nothing of huge value, of course. These are all very common stamps, but they're just fun, right? Isn't that why we do this hobby? It's just for fun. I've always thought that was kind of a cool stamp of the steer. And there's lots of studying of history that can be done with Argentinian stamps, and of course any stamp issuing country for that matter. And I've yet to be one who gets into errors or oddities or varieties or tagging or anything along those lines at all. It's more about the stamp itself and what it's saying or telling us that has always appealed to me. And however you collect stamps and what you collect is the right way, because that's what works for you. So a number of definitives here. So you see, you probably recognize a lot of this if you spent any time with stamps yourself. I'll slide those just up out of the way for a minute. Grab a couple of others here. Here's some from Chile. Let's see if I can figure out how to get into that. Yeah. So lots here that would be fun to go through as well. And I want to put a shout out to Dan as well, and we'll just leave it at Dan. But Dan has been kind to send me some stamps, a number of stamps a couple of times from China as well as Cuba. So other areas that I think could be fun for me. And I said to him that especially China, I know little to nothing really about Chinese philately. And Cuba, similar to some of the South American countries, is just an area that politically and historically I find really quite fascinating. So I think the stamps could be a lot of fun. And he also has sent me a number of Winston Churchill stamps or covers, mostly covers, which were really, really nice and really are nice additions to what had been a fairly small and casual Winston Churchill topical collection that I'll keep adding to as I can. So thank you, Dan, for that. Some Paraguay. So once again, these are all from Bill. And another philatelic friend, when I was there, had given me a few stamps of, Honduras here, foxes on stamps. And I think there was, I want to say there were 3 in the little glassine, and 2 of them I had, but I don't think there's one of them that I didn't have. So that was appreciated. So thank you, Anne. British Honduras here, or Honduras. Your name changes like a lot of places. Quite a nice one. Capitalizing on stamp collecting as a hobby, I would say, by having a stamp of Abraham Lincoln. You see that with a number of countries, frequently in Africa. That you'll see, and some people call them wallpaper stamps because it just is really for the philatelic market more than anything else. There'll be stamps of Lincoln or JFK or Marilyn Monroe or Elvis that don't seem to make a lot of sense, and as far as I know, have little to no connection with the countries that are issuing those stamps. A couple of Venezuela, more Argentina. I'm not going to go through them all. Sorry, Chris. Because there's some more things that I want to show you as well. Ecuador. Excuse me in the background for a minute. Just don't want these to slide all over the place. Just put them back in their glassines. Excuse me for the shadows too. There we go. All right, I'm going to pause this because I'm going to switch over to handheld here in a second and show you a few other things that I'm going to try to do something with at some point. So just give me a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. And I've switched to handheld, as I said, because I'm doing some flipping through here of a few other pieces. And this is Mexico here. Again, sorry for the shadow. It's coming, of course, from the window off to my right. And this is from, as I was saying earlier in the introduction, kind of a relative, somebody I've known for years, actually. We went all through school together from grade 7 on up through, and eventually I met my wife, and of course we got married, and as you may know, she passed away not quite 2.5 years ago. So this ended up being her cousin. And his father had collected stamps for years, and his father passed away a few years ago. and he managed to get or unload a lot of his father's collection. He did a lot of it on eBay, but he was spending hours upon hours upon hours to do it, and he realized the amount of work that it took. And he had some nice stuff, because he'd collected for all his life, as far as I know, and collected everything. And what he had left over from his father, he really didn't know what to do with anymore, because it was really, as we're saying, as I went and took a look, it's just stuff. Like, it's stuff like this, which can be a lot of fun. These are all Mexico. But he's wondering if there's just an easier way to do it. So I've been helping him to offload some of that. Did it at the Stamp Club meeting in March, at the auction, and then at the Stamp Fair a couple of weeks ago. I put some items in there that were his father's. Just box lots, right? Just a box of stamps. Some were loose, some were on paper, some were just in kind of duotangs like this, or albums of odds and ends of stuff. And the items that I put in were quite popular, and actually one of them went for a fairly high amount, which was nice to see. There's, if you look through, you're going to find some treasures here and there. So I'm glad I'm able to help him do that, and I'll continue to do that. And as a result, although I've been able to add also to my collection through that. So this was some of his Mexico stuff. Vacationed in Mexico a couple of times in the past, and much like the Central and South American countries, I find there's quite a bit of interest for me historically in that area. I find once I travel to an area, I really gain an interest in it. Like in November, traveled to Southeast Europe and really gained an appreciation for the culture and the history of Hungary and Romania and Bulgaria, and now I find myself more interested in those stamps. Similar, you see Denmark here, and it's kind of sporadic early on, but there's some things in here that could be treasures for me at some point. And I did just book another trip for later in the summer that I'm really excited about. And perhaps you might know that I was in Iceland, when was that? Just about a year ago, 11 months ago, I guess. I spent 2 weeks in Iceland, which is incredible. And Scandinavian countries in general have always really interested me. And I've said that before, that I think they do a lot of things right. Socially, culturally, economically, education, environment, anything you look at. And really, I scratch my head about why other countries aren't following suit that Scandinavian countries do, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And later in the summer, I won't give any details right now, but later in the summer I do have a trip planned for a couple of weeks for that area of the world. So I thought I'd hang on to these Denmark stamps, and you can see there's also Dutch Indies. So my wife was half Dutch, so her cousin also was half Dutch. Actually, yeah, her cousin, the one that I'm helping offload these stamps, both of his parents were born in the Netherlands. My wife, her father, my father-in-law was born in the Netherlands. Her mother, my mother-in-law, was born here in Canada. So he had quite an extensive Dutch collection as a result. You can see Germany in here too. And I was hoping for some Ethiopia stuff in here. Sorry for the flip, but not to be found, except for just a couple. Because that's one area of Africa that greatly interests me, is Ethiopia and Somalia, Eritrea, and so on. And then the third binder here has quite a bit of value actually in it. And you can see the plate blocks here. New Zealand, I'm not into plate blocks. In Australia, Malta, Kenya, British Commonwealth. Just kind of goes on there for a bit. And I guess this would be an omnibus set, would it not? You can see all the various British Commonwealth countries, same design. UN, some pretty decent value there. And again, same thing here. So these ones weren't really of interest to me, even though there's a lot here. And you can add up to a fair bit of value after a while. Pitcairn Islands tend to be higher value. Hong Kong there too. But then it came across these ones in the Churchill omnibus set from when Churchill passed. And I have a number of these, but I don't have all of them. It's like, oh, this will be a nice addition to the Churchill collection. And I mentioned Chris of Chris Loves Stamps earlier. If you don't subscribe to his channel, I'd highly recommend you do that. He does a much better job of creating, editing, and producing his videos than I do. I'm just very simple. To each their own, I guess. You see some nice sheets here, some nice catalog value there, that Belgian sheet. Lebanon. I don't know what I'll do with those souvenir sheets at this point. Yeah, so yeah, Chris does a nice job. There are several channels I follow, and I suspect you do too. Chris Loves Stamps, Ken's stamp collection, I really enjoy his as well. Our Dad Stamps, he does an excellent job of explaining countries and the stamp issuing entities. And I know I'm forgetting a number of others. There's a few off the top of my head that I enjoy and look forward to watching each time that they do come out. Of course, Exploring Stamps, that Graham would kind of be the grandfather, although he's younger, of the, I would call the YouTube philately world. There's many more out there. That Dad guy just over Moncton, not far from here. I suspect many of you follow him. Omnibus set here. The Victory issue, 1946. And then plate blocks too. And they kind of go on. I'll just go out here a bit. Yeah, we'll see what I end up doing with all of those items. So those are the items that I quickly wanted to show you. I do some other things that I've picked up also in the meantime from a philatelic friend of mine that I was really quite pleased to get. So perhaps I'll do an episode on those sometime soon too. This is where I'm headed next with the British Commonwealth. I slowly pick away at putting those into Vario sheets, up to the Ks. So getting there. I showed you some of that a little bit before. See, some of you probably have an idea what I'm talking about. Oh, there's Kiribati there as well. Looks like Kiribati, but I'm pretty sure the pronunciation is Kiribati. There you have it. So until next time, that'll give you something to think about. And I'll continue to pick away today on some of my stamps. It's been nice to get back into it a little bit today. And we'll chat with you soon. Take good care.